Haven't really done one of my rant videos for a long time, but then again I've had nothing to rant about until today. Because I'm not a bad-tempered, ranty sort of person, but there are certain things that happen and you think, I think my channel should know about that. It won't come as a surprise to many of my subscribers, and hello to all the new subscribers, by the way. I don't big up the subscribers as much as I should do, sorry. I know a lot of YouTubers do, but I've stopped putting up the like, subscribe, and that kind of stuff. I'm having a chat with Soren about this. Sorry, I've gone off on a tangent already. And we both believe that the amount of subscribers you have doesn't really link to the amount of views that you get. In fact, sometimes it can cause a problem. It's much nicer if you've got... Well, I think I had a better viewer ratio to subscribers when I only had 5,000 subscribers. I think now it's 18,000, or maybe it's just turned 19,000 subscribers. So it's nice, it's great, but I mean, if they're all paying £1 a month, then come on board. But anyway, that's by the by. So I'm not a grumpy person, and I only do rant type videos if I've got a cup of coffee in my hand and if I've got 20 minutes. But something has happened today, and it almost cost me a lot of money. I do have a dig at a particular brand from time to time, and I only do it for one particular reason. The brand is Samsung, and it's because I see more faulty Samsung TVs than any other brand. Now, there's been lots of people supporting Samsung that say, yeah, but they sell more than anyone else, which is quite true, especially in the UK and Europe. But that doesn't mean that their customer service should just stop. If anything, you'd expect it to be better than other brands, but it's not. It's quite simply worse. We had problems about 3 or 4 years ago with Samsung televisions that had a TU, which would have been 2021. Then the next year it was an AU, which was 2022. I'm guessing the years, by the way, so if I'm not precise, do forgive me. So the TUs and the AUs were absolute disasters, and all the panels failed. Now, the reason I moan is because the TVs are failing and they can't be repaired. Now, if the TVs were failing and they could be repaired, ka-ching, I'd be a happy TV repair guy because I'd be making some money out of it. But with these particular models, you couldn't do that. Now, as well as being a TV repair agent, I also sell new TVs, but not many. There are some customers that have used my services for repair work, and then they get in contact and say, can you get me 3 43-inch TVs? And I do have a supplier that will sell me some brand new TVs. And the TV place only wanted Samsung, so I got 3 Samsung TVs. That was 18 months ago. So this will be the CUs. I've also sold quite a few DUs, which was last year. Haven't got anything to report about those, but they're still only 6-7 months old. I'm not too sure where Samsung, excuse me, I'm not too sure where Samsung are now. If last year it was DU, then this year EU, or have they missed that out? Anyway, somebody will let me know in the comments. So these are panel failures that cannot be repaired by replacing the faulty chip, because it's a chip on film issue, and you can't do that. There's nobody in the UK repairing those. There's nobody in Europe repairing those. Once they've gone, they've gone. On some of the screens, there's been a workaround, not on the Samsung ones, but on other manufacturers' models. We call it the paper trick, or my boss used to call it the paper trick, so I've carried on calling it that. And that sometimes works, and works quite well for several years. I've done a few quick and cheap repairs. I'm always a little bit reticent to call them repairs when you just use a bit of tape and paper to bring the picture back, but if it works, it's a fix, and if it saved the customer money, then it's a fix. So I supplied a hotel with 3 CUs, 43 inches, about 16 months ago, and they called me today to say they've all failed over the Easter weekend. Why I called today and not last week, I don't know. and they've all failed with the same problem. And that started ringing some alarm bells to me because I've had not many calls, but maybe over the last month, 5 or 6 calls with people that have got Samsung CU model TVs. Not too sure if it's the 43-inch variant or not, and they've had problems with it. And I'm afraid I've just started washing my hands of these problems because, well, quite simply because of the problems with the TUs and the AUs. And this has really made me feel bad. Now, I'm under no obligation to help out that hotel, refund them, because I got the TVs through a trade organisation. They only offer a 12 months warranty. I just passed that 12 months warranty over. But I've been in contact with them today, and I said, oh, you'll never guess what's happened, blah, blah, blah. And they've, for some particular reason, been very good and said, if you can get them boxed up and returned to us, which we have done. Luckily, the hotel kept the boxes and send them back, which we have done. They're going to replace them with the equivalent. It's not Samsung replacing them. This is my trade supplier that's having to do this. I didn't want to ask too many questions, but I'm guessing the CU model is now going to be as respected as the TUs and the AUs. You may wonder why I don't mention the BUs in between all these, quite simply because, and I think there's a good reason for this, I've had none in for repair. The BUs have been absolutely fine, unless you know different. And I think the reason for this is Samsung had such a bad problem with the TUs and the AUs, and they sacked their panel manufacturer. I'm not too sure who it was. It could have been Tizen, but don't quote me on that. But whomever it was, they went bankrupt. So Samsung obviously couldn't use them, even though I saw in a press release that Samsung had fired them. But that left Samsung with a major problem. When it came to the next batch of TVs, where do they get their screens from? And I'd got a funny feeling that they've had to, I don't think they've gone to LG, but they've had to go to an expensive supplier and buy a batch of half-decent panels that tend to last for the BU models. And we don't seem to have had any problems with those. But obviously, in between all that, they've had 12 months to source a medium price or low price or just get a better deal. And it seems like, unfortunately, the CUs are going to be as problematic as, well, the other two that I've mentioned. It really is just pathetically bad of Samsung. They've had such a good reputation for decades and decades, but there does seem to be this new business model which has come out, especially in electronics, over the last few years, which is we'll get you through the warranty period and we don't care. After the 12 months, if it goes faulty, get in contact with your retailer. If they're not going to help you, then there's nothing we can do. We've done our bit. And it just stinks. It really does. On this occasion, I've been really lucky, and the hotel's been really lucky that they're getting it replaced. And I've now just got a funny feeling that for the next 6 months, we're going to be getting so many calls. I wish I could get one of them in, but we've had to box them up and send it back because I'd like to try the paper trick, but I don't think it will work. I think this is going to be alongside the old problems where blocking off the clock lines issue is not the problem. This is a cough issue. And it's just embarrassingly bad, but that's the state that we are. It really seems at the moment that you are much better off going to a high street electronic retailer and buying the cheapest Chinese TV that you can afford and just letting it last you a year. Because people are buying Samsung on the brand name because it was a great brand name. I do get comments from time to time saying that other Samsung appliances like washing machines and tablets are equally as poor these days, but I don't deal with those, so I wouldn't know. All I know is the TVs have been poor over the last few years. They were great the year before last. That's the BU models, where they had to supply some quality screens quickly, otherwise they wouldn't have been selling any TVs throughout Europe. It's just bad news. So if you've got a Samsung CU model at the moment and it's working, let's hope it stays working. What I don't understand and what I find highly suspicious, and I don't believe in any conspiracy theory, but I might start one, is how come all three Samsung TVs that I supplied, so obviously it's going to be a similar batch, but that doesn't make any difference. How come all three that I supplied on the same day have failed? I don't know if they failed on the same day, but they could have failed within a week, 10-day period, week or 2 weeks, because I only found out today. It's shocking. And I thought I was going to lose quite a bit of money today, but luckily the people that supply me the TVs have done a deal with whoever supplies them, and we can get that sorted. It's just bad. It really is bad. But it seems like Samsung don't care, because they know people that don't like Samsung will go to Panasonic, and people that have fallen out with Panasonic will go to Samsung. It's just a vicious circle. But if there's a top 5 of manufacturers that are letting their customers down, and also letting their suppliers down to a certain extent, it does seem to be Samsung. It's a poor show, and I'm just now not looking forward to the phone calls coming in, people that have had the CU models, because I doubt very much they can be repaired. I will get one in eventually. As I said, I wish I could have taken one from the hotel to see if the paper trick brings it back to life. But they've just got to stop being so cheap and nasty with their panels, and parts that can't be repaired. Do they know this? Well, of course they know this, because this has been going on. Well, this will be the 5th year now. They had a 1-year hiatus where everything was fine, but this will be the 5th year now of constant bad panels that can't be repaired. Not good.